Nice.
Oh, hey, dude, what's up? You must be here for the podcast. That's...
Tight.
Dude, I just made some Zaws, and guess what, man? I got carrot juice. Yeah! Hello, and welcome to The Social Distance, a podcast where we get to hang out and talk not only with our mouths, but with our souls. Just kidding, that's impossible and a little weird. It is Friday, April 17th, 2020, and I am your host, Israel Rodriguez. Hey you guys, and thank you for tuning in. Yet another week has flown by. Can you believe that? I can, because I saw it with my own eyeballs. All three of them, and you want to know what the raddest part was? Hanging out with you. And eating those 2 oven pizzas that I ate while doing all the editing for this podcast. Oh, and calling my Uncle Robert for his birthday. And getting the chance to chit-chat. I love that man, and for whatever reason, I just haven't been calling him or keeping up with him in a pretty minute. Poor guy was out buying his own birthday cake because that is how mean the COVID-19 virus is. But no matter, he seemed in good spirits, and that's what counts. For all you listeners out there with uncelebrated birthdays because of social distancing, I am sorry. I can't exactly relate to what you're going through, but as someone whose birthday is actually on September 11th, I know a little bit what it feels like to have your special day to be tied with tragedy, but we can't plan for such disasters. All we can do is be thankful to have reached another 365-day milestone. Another whole year of laughing, of loving, another whole year of hopefully delicious meals, another whole year of interesting aromas you may have come across. Just all sorts of different experiences that you wouldn't have had a year ago. Well, you got to experience them. That's pretty cool. Anyway, happy birthday, Robert, and happy birthday to all you listeners that need to hear it. Yesterday, we hung out at the beach, and then we did some book reviewing. If you were there, I hope you had a grand time. And if you were not there, well, I'm sorry. You missed out. No, I'm just kidding. Every single day is as good as the last, and don't you ever forget that. Plus, today is actually going to be extra groovy. Remember that on Fridays we do hang out with a guest, we get to know them a little better, and we get to expand our repertoire of friends. Today's guest has some of the most inviting aura and the voice of an angel. He has the most calm demeanor and the ability to write songs that mortal men can only dream of having. My guest today is a good friend of mine, and his name is Danny. Danny and I have actually been friends for a couple years now, and we both came from the same bubble of a hometown, that which is the Imperial Valley. Him and I were both involved with the small, tightly knit music scene down there, though we didn't really talk to each other for a long time. It wasn't until a couple years after leaving the Imperial Valley that we actually got close. In fact, we were actually just fans of each other's music first. Then we slowly realized that we had a long list of mutual friends. Those were the prerequisites for becoming good homies. I was actually very stoked to have the chance to interview Danny today. 1, it gave me an excuse to call him and catch up with him. 2, it gave you a chance to meet him. And 3, it gave me a chance to show off his 6 songs and his cool vibes. In this interview, you will get to witness how down-to-earth and how genuine this dude is. You will hear about his own social distance situation and about some of the bands and projects that he has been in, most of which you can actually find on bandcamp.com or on YouTube. But don't worry, I will also be sprinkling just a couple of his songs throughout the episode. This guy has dabbled in all sorts of genres of music, so stay tuned through the whole interview because you are bound to listen to something that you're gonna like. I will also do my best to leave the titles of the songs in the description so you can look them up later if you are interested. In fact, we will be sailing into this interview on a boat made of clouds and a song made by Danny. This song is called Snailman, and it was produced by our extremely talented mutual friend Andrew. There are a million good things that I can say about Andrew, but I'm going to save that for another podcast. I hope you guys enjoy this jam. It's one of my favorite earworms. I also hope that you guys enjoy the interview, and we will meet back here when it is done. Alrighty, later, skater. Alrighty, I am here with my good friend Danny. Now, Danny and I go way back. We are actually both from the same hometown. We've played with bands that have performed together. Danny and I just have a lot of memories, so I'm really grateful to have this guy on here. Danny, what's up? How are you, man?
Hey, how's it going? It's going all right. It's going all right. It's my day off. We're just relaxing at home right now.
Dude, nice. Yeah, I know. Despite the circumstances, it's good to hear that you're enjoying your days off. So you said it's your day off. Are you still working right now?
Yeah, so yeah, I am still working at the moment, and I'm actually working a little bit more than I used to before this whole thing happened, and that's due to people, having kids and they have to go take care of them. So I got more hours, so that's a good thing.
Dude, heck yeah, man. You're a hero. Uh I think you had mentioned you work at a bank, correct?
Yeah, I do. I do work at a bank.
How's that going with with everything that's going on?
Definitely, what I do notice more is towards the beginning of this whole thing, people started freaking out. Basically, they just started going to the bank and taking out all their money. And they were just thinking that the banks were going to close and we were going to keep their money, which isn't really the idea. But yeah, that's one of the differences that I did see.
That's analogous to, I think, what was happening like during the Great Depression. I remember people just freaked out, or reading about people freaking out and then just pulling all their money out, and you actually got to see that firsthand.
Yeah, man, it was definitely eye opening to see that for sure.
So I've known you for a little bit now, and you don't strike me as someone who like freaks out easily. How did it like make you feel? Did it freak you out, or?
The virus itself, it is scary to a lot of people, and to including myself. However, I'm one of those people that just, I have a lot of people surrounding me that are freaking out, and I'm just trying not to take that approach. Definitely just try to keep calm about it. Be, like I said, just be wary about it. Wash your hands. Whatever they're saying on the TV or on the internet, just be safe, basically.
Yeah, dude. Well, it seems like you are keeping a level head through all this. I know you said you were working a little bit more, But now that you can't really go out anywhere after you come back home from work, what have you been doing to like occupy that time?
Honestly, I've been playing guitar, working on recording some songs that I've had in my head for a while. And also I've been playing a lot of video games.
Dude, what kind of video games?
Well, funny that you say that. We just got me and my girlfriend Natalia, we just got the Nintendo Switch, and she's been playing Animal Crossing, and I've just been playing The Legend of Zelda. Takes me way back when I was younger.
Okay, first of all, I did not know you had those, and I'm upset that you have not invited me over to play. But I get it. We're social
I can.
distancing. Yeah, dang,
Yeah,
you got lucky this
exactly.
time, man. But I enjoy The Legend of Zelda, and Animal Crossing. I heard is the bee's knees. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying that one.
Definitely. Hey, you know what? Whenever this is done, you're more than welcome to come and play, hang out at my place.
Dude, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. You touched on
Yeah.
writing music, and I'm definitely going to expand on that. Before this interview, I gave a little introduction to the kind of stuff that you do, and I did actually play a song that you and another good friend of ours, Andrew, had made. It's
All
under.
right.
I only have it under as a snail mail demo, but I did play it for the audience. And dude, I am in love with that track. Can you actually just tell us a little bit about that track in particular?
Thank you. So yeah, that one is actually I give most of the credit to Andrew because Andrew came up with the instrumental for that song. He actually made the whole beat that you're listening on there. He made it himself, and all I did was just sing on it. I used to live in Los Angeles, and I one of those weekends that I drove down to San Diego. It was like a 2 hour time frame, and I just recorded vocals on this track that he had made, and we decided to release it on SoundCloud. Then we shared on social media. Some people liked it, and yeah, it's been about a year.
So you were living in LA when you made this song. Do you do a lot of projects like that where you like travel from here to there?
At the time when I was living in LA, all my friends, all my musician friends at least, were living down here in San Diego. I mean, now I live here, but back then we would just communicate online, and then we'd meet up and just make some music, create.
Again, I've shared it with the listeners. I like to play bass. I'll just hang out. I'll jam a bass line, and that's kind of that. Your approach to songwriting, at least from what I've known from you, you kind of go about it differently, and I do admire that, man. It's I feel like you're able to pull stories out of like thin air, and that's some crazy stuff for me. I did want to ask you about your songwriting process, dude. Just give us a little bit of information about that.
The process itself would be grab the guitar. I'll start jamming out with some riffs, just make a melody, harmony here and there. And then once I have that done, I just write words to the music. Or sometimes it's the other way around. I'll write words and I'll have this verse stuck in my head, and then I'll just pick up a guitar and just, write something to it.
When you write, do you have like a goal? Are you telling stories? Is this all stuff you've gone through? What is that about?
My goal is to make music that can make people relate and sympathize. When people are feeling down or feeling happy, whatever emotion, there's music for every single emotion out there. So I just want to make music that makes people feel.
How long have you been practicing not only your guitar but your songwriting as well?
It's been a while. Off the top of my head, I would say maybe like 5 years since I started being in bands. Maybe like 7 years. Yeah, just started hanging out with friends that wanted to make up bands, and we did, and we all took different duties in the band. And one of mine was to write lyrics, write bass, or write guitar.
Do you have any heroes as far as songwriting goes?
You can definitely tell when I write a song that I really like how Jack Sanoff writes. He is a single artist now, but he used to be in a bunch of bands when I was in high school, and he's one of my big influences. I've been listening to this guy. His name's Axel Catalan, and he's from Michoacan, Mexico, and he's a great songwriter. He writes all his songs in Spanish, but I believe that his songs have so much meaning, and they're really really, really good musically and lyrically.
Dude, that's cool. That's actually something that I didn't actually mention, but you are bilingual, right? Do you write music in Spanish as well, or?
Yeah, I do write music in Spanish too. I feel like it's a little bit easier for me to express myself in Spanish since it is my first language. But most of the songs that at least my friends have heard have all been in English. I haven't recorded anything in Spanish yet.
What is there like a moment growing up that made you think, man, like this is what I want to be doing? I feel like everyone has a cool little, oh, I saw so and so on TV and I fell in love with the way they were playing, or my grandfather encouraged me to do. What got you into music as a whole?
Well, music in general, my older brother, he always played guitar when I was younger, and I would always see him play, and I just thought it was so cool. Who doesn't want to play an instrument when they're, younger? So I picked it up and I got into punk rock and heavy metal side of music with one of my uncles. He introduced me to, like the big bands like Metallica, Black Sabbath, those big bands, Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer. That's where I started picking up punk rock and heavy metal and thrash metal and all that stuff.
Did you immediately go into writing a lot of punk rock music, a lot of heavy metal music, or did you kind of delve away from that?
In the beginnings of, me playing music, it was a lot of punk rock and a lot of heavy, fast, distorted, angry music. And I feel like as I grew older, I started, like you said, dwell away from that in the sense that I write more of singer songwriter songs now. It's like soft and harmonies and easy guitar riffs. I don't know how to explain that, but
Yeah, well, would you say that like you've progressed, or you just kind of tackle it a little differently than you used to?
well, I both. I think when you age and you gain experience, you think about things differently, and that's with music included as well.
You said you moved to LA. Was that a big difference? I know you and I are kind of both from the same hometown. So moving to a big town like that, I could only imagine how that affected you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really on the edge of my seat when I moved to LA because, big city, lots of traffic. There's a lot of nice people, but there's also a lot of weird individuals out there. It was definitely something in my life timeline that was a little bit different for me. Thankfully, I adapted, and I also have a lot of good memories from LA.
Did you see any of that kind of bleed into your music?
Yes, definitely. I did a lot of writing when I was in LA. There was a lot of down times for me and also a lot of good times. So yeah, it definitely influenced my musical part for sure.
Thank you for sharing that, man. Was there any crazy LA stories you want to share with us?
I got my car broken into and they stole my social security number along with some clothes that I had. I had just returned from a trip in Mazatlan, Sinaloa in Mexico, and I had my stuff in there. Somebody broke into my car, and yeah, I lost all that stuff. Luckily, even though my social security was compromised, I was able to contact the bureaus, and I did a hard freeze on my accounts, and there was no hard inquiries on my credit. Everything's good now, but at the time that kind of freaked me out. Also, when I first moved there, I started a new job as an Amazon delivery driver, and I was just so overwhelmed and so stressed about driving in this new traffic. I guess I was going a little bit too fast on the freeway, and I just started swerving all over the 405 freeway, and it was a very scary experience. But we're here alive and we're good.
Danny, I have not heard that story before, man. I'm glad you're here alive too, man. That's a little intense. I
Yeah,
can't imagine either of those scenarios.
yeah, it made me see. I don't know. I guess coming from the valley, it just made me look at things differently, and it made me just kind of a less worrisome person.
I would love to hear what you thought about living in that small town, maybe even compared to living in those bigger towns.
Most of the people that I talk to about the valley, they always have something bad to say about it. I find beauty in it. I don't know if you can agree with me, but some of the prettiest sunsets are out there in the Imperial Valley when you're looking at the plain fields and you can see the sun in the distance just going down. It's just, perfect hue of purple and orange and white.
Sometimes when I bring like visitors or other friends who have never been in the valley, I'll bring them there. They do comment on just the sky itself. It's not a bigger town, so there's not a lot of like light pollution or a lot of buildings in the way.
Other things that define the valley for me would be hot, 120-degree
Oh
weather when
yeah.
it's July or August, very dry. There's not a lot to do, honestly. There's not a lot of places to go to. But, growing up there and, in the small town, I had a lot of friends in the neighborhood and it was just fun for me and nice. I have a lot of good memories for sure.
Do you think that the environment you were in, small town versus big town, did that itself affect the way the type of music you were making?
Absolutely, man. I felt sad a lot in the Imperial Valley, but it was a good kind of sad, like nostalgic. It was good.
That's good to hear, man. I do want to start delving into some of these bands you were playing with. You have jammed out with our buddy Andrew. You guys just, composed a little bit of songs here and there. What other projects have you been involved with?
I've been in a couple of bands. I mean, my first band, I believe, was called Domestic Violence. That's the interesting name, I know. It's when we were in high school and we wanted to start a punk rock band, and I mean, it was fun while it lasted. I was in a couple other bands. Fences Thieves was when I started meeting a bunch of people that are actually living here in San Diego now, and they're great friends as well, and a lot of them are really gifted musicians. I really respect them and admire their musicianship. Also, Convulsion, it was a ska punk band. Some of my best friends, they played in that band. We have a lot of good memories. My boy Eddie played guitar in that band, and we're pretty much neighbors. We hang out all the time, and we make music too. What else? Haas was another one. Haas, I did guitar and sang for the first time as a band, and it actually made me see things differently, and it made me want to play more guitar and sing more. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I believe so. I've known Danny for a long time. For those of you listening, I've known Danny for a long time. He was always kind of there in the background. We would say what's up, but I didn't really start talking to you, I feel like, until I would say 2016. And that was, I believe you were jamming with Haas, correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to start there and I'm going to ask you about Haas. How was that project different from what you were doing?
I believe Arturo was in one of your episodes, right?
Yeah, I've mentioned him a couple times. Arturo is now my roommate. He's come up here a couple times.
So it was initially Arturo's idea to make that band with me and our friend Abraham and our friend Caesar. However, for whatever reasons, he didn't stay in the band, but we kept the name. Our friend Caesar and our friend Omar played bass, and yeah, we just wrote a lot and played a lot of shows. It was fun while it lasted.
Were you playing guitar for that one?
I was playing guitar and I was singing or screaming.
How was your the chemistry with everyone else playing?
Oh, it was the best. I think, well, we had a good chemistry between the band members. It was really good to write music with these guys. That's what I was looking for. It was just really easy.
What do you mean by easy? Like what made it easier to write with these guys?
I feel like we had in mind the same thing when we wrote music. Like it was chaotic, but also we wanted to make it beautiful, or like I wouldn't say beautiful, but just make it sound nice. But at the same time, just make it sound rowdy. we all took that idea to the next level and just wrote towards that.
How was this music group different from the music group you had before, which I believe was Fences Thieves?
It was Caesar and Arturo who was in that band too. And I guess the difference was just less people, and it was more concentrated into one or two styles of music. While Fences Thieves was more of a hurricane of styles and different ideas. You know, it was like 6 people at some point in that band. So
What for Fences Thieves, you played bass, correct?
I did play bass.
Dude, you're just playing everything, man. How was that different from playing guitar for a band?
It's different because I feel like each instrument has its forte. It's nice to experiment on different instruments.
Do you feel like you're able to get different ideas, different messages out with the bass as compared to with the guitar?
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of people confuse bass guitar and just regular 6-string guitar, but I feel like it's 2 different instruments, 2 different feelings, 2 different emotions for sure. I enjoy playing both of them, but I still think that guitar is like my main instrument, even though I do like to play bass a lot, and I like to write bass lines for my songs too, but I consider myself more of a guitar guy.
Were you writing lyrics back then for Fences Thieves as well?
I think I did for one song called Post Office. It was just something that I shouted out and it stayed.
Well, I'm actually gonna also chime in with, I believe you guys had a song called Diablocorazon, and I am a huge fan of that song. I might try to play it here on the show, though there's some elements that I probably will have to edit out, but that to me was one of my favorite things to hear from you. Did you write those lyrics?
I did not. No. I that was a song that we collectively wrote. So we all had a part in there, but I did not write the lyrics. And basically, that song before it was put out on the release demo, it was a full band song. So everybody was playing their instruments and everybody was chanting and singing, screaming, whatever you want to call it. At some point, I was at home bored, and I was playing on Adobe Audition, and I recorded a small riff, and then I sang to it, and that was Diablocorazon. I sent it to the guys, and everybody really liked it, so we just decided to keep it on there.
Dude, I would have never guessed, because when I listen to that song, it sounds like you literally like took a chunk of your soul and you put it onto the track. And so the fact that you're telling me that you just kind of made it your own is even more extraordinary. I totally thought that came from like your diary or your journal or something, man.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I know those are not my original words, but it is our friends' words, and a collective of things we all think about.
Are you able to kind of take other people's words, other people's ideas, and just kind of embody them through your own way of doing? Are you able to do that easily? Do you do that often?
If I'm inspired by a song or a certain verse, a certain phrase, and I like how it sounds, I like the meaning of it, I'll go ahead and like make something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I have jammed out with Danny, and we'll just be playing something, and Danny looks around the room and just starts singing melodies. You're like a melody machine. I mean, you don't have to tell us your secret, but what is some of your thought process when you're writing these songs and you're just looking around?
For that specifically, when we're jamming out, it's just random things that come to mind, and that's why you see me looking at the different parts of the room. But I just try to make it into a song. Like right now I'm looking at a light switch, and there's a melody playing in the back, and I just want to sing about a light switch, and I'll do that. I mean, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, then we'll do something else.
So there have been instances where you and I have actually worked on music together. That was a really fun process. I got to kind of see how the way you were thinking, the way you were writing. That was fascinating. I'm actually going to show a quick clip of that song that you and I actually worked together on. Give me 1 second.
Stars ablaze, the cosmos shrinks, planetary seas swallowed whole by black holes. I'm stretched out to my limit. Elude your voice. until I come back.
And one more thing. Saturday soccer games are probably one of my favorite things. It's those little moments that add up like math problems that made me wish I was still staying alive just to solve them. But sometimes the big math don't roll that way, you know? When I was young, I wanted to start my own music group, call it something like Doni Dankhouse and the Dictionaries. Silly, I know, but Pops always told me that you gotta dream before you grow. And that's what I tell the kids now. I'm hopeful, but I'm also a realist, man. That's what I am. I'm a realist. There was this one time that we took a family trip up to Six Flags. Crazy stuff, man. You've ever been to Six Flags? You ever been to Six Flags before? Well, little Iris wanted to get on that wooden coaster, but my back ain't what it used to be, you know? I told her, next time, baby. I said, next time. Do you happen to know how much those tickets cost? Because I gotta get on that quick.
Sun's run amok when I face north and I look towards the distance. With rain and tongue, we board our ships to the nearest shore. I'll lose your voice and find myself running through a tunnel underground. So hold my heart and keep it warm until I come back.
I'm honestly scared about something so objective as death. These memories play in my head and they distort the possibility of what may or may not come next. It feels like an offbeat drum machine, programmed to keep time to the tempo, not of the present, but to the strum of what's to come.
Alrighty, so we're back. Tell us about writing that song. I mean, the writing process. I was there, but I kind of would like to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite memories from back then when we really started hanging out, you and I, Israel. I think that really made a progression in our friendship, if I may say.
Yeah, no, I agree. A little backstory for the listeners. Danny and I, again, we really started hanging out around 2016. I was moving from from San Diego to Sacramento. But before making that big move, I stayed in the Valley for about 4 months. I saved up a little bit and then I headed to Sacramento. And dude, all I remember is just hanging out with you and making jams. And that is when this jam actually came alive.
Yeah, a lot of memories for sure. So what I remember from recording this song, you basically emailed me that track and I heard it. I thought it was awesome. And you just called me over to your house and we basically recorded in, like a span of 2 or 3 hours. And we didn't leave that room until those vocals were done. And I mean, I thought that was really cool at the time when you showed me like the final product. Yeah, I still jam out to that song from time to time, if I can be honest with you.
Yeah, dude, we had a little listening party and everything. That was quite the times. The good old days, back when people were able to hang out with each other. You remember that?
Something like that, yeah.
Making that song was a new experience for me as well. Making that type of music was a personal thing for me. So, kind of asking someone to hop on was definitely a vulnerable thing for me to do. And dude, you really rocked it. I couldn't even have imagined like better vocals for that song. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was the best thing of this whole concept was that we worked with what we had at the time. We didn't have a lot of knowledge or equipment, and we just worked it like I said. It was just cool to be able to be a part of that.
Dude, you were able to make that tangible, achievable. So I appreciate that, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be able to make music with you, or had been able to make music with you for sure.
All right, dude, you're gonna make me blush now. Stop it. I do want to talk about the music scene in the Valley. How was that for you?
If I could say one word, it would be friendship, friends. Most of my friends that I still talk to, I've met through music in the Imperial Valley. I really, really, really enjoyed my time, when I was there and we were making music, and it was just all fun, before we had to become adults, if I may say, messing around, a lot of laughing, good times. The music scene itself, I heard that it's still going on. I'm not really in touch with it anymore since I really don't go to the Imperial Valley that often. And even less now with this whole COVID-19 going on, I can't really go down and go to a show like anybody else.
Yeah.
I see some clips here and there from the new people making music, and I think it's really cool.
Do you got any memories you can share with us from your times in the music scene down in the valley?
Twilight was a big place. For those who don't know, Twilight is a black shop. I think that's what they're called, and Main Street, El Centro. The owner was really cool. His name was Frankie. He would host shows there, and a lot of people would come, and we would play. We would also play in garage or different places. It was just fun, man. It was just like a worry less. You didn't worry about anything. Just going to play music, and that was it.
That's awesome, man. Was there a favorite show of yours that you can recall?
The one I remember the most, probably David on Ice or David on Twice, when Great Days played. And this comes to mind because it's recorded and it's on YouTube. And sometimes when we were reminiscing about our friends, put that we just put that video on, and it just brings back a lot of memories. But that was one of my favorite ones for sure.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, David on Ice, David on Twice, there was this dude in the valley. His name was David. I'm not sure if he's still there actually, but he would open up his garage I think it was like Christmas time, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, when it was cooler for sure. Yeah.
Every winter time he would have like a little show in his garage, and he would invite like 5 bands to play, and he would come up with funny names like David on Ice, and then the next year it was David on Twice, and I forgot what the third year, but he kind of kept that going for a little bit. That was pretty fun.
David Ice Cubed.
David
That's
on
what
Ice Cubed.
yeah.
That's right. Oh my God, just a bunch of comedians there. So as far as your music goes, do you have influences that you get from other sources? Like, do you watch movies? Do you like to go on walks and just look at the outside? What are you about?
Well, you mentioned it earlier when like I'm looking around the room and I'm looking up to on things to like write about. I do that like on my day to day when I'm commuting from home to work or when I'm just outside of my house. For this song, the Snailman, I believe there's a verse in there that goes like, I'm looking at the trees outside my window, and that one, funny story. Our friend Andrew Talenda, his girlfriend drew him a picture of some trees, some pine trees, and it was on his wall. And I saw a window to the right of that, and then I saw the pines, and that's where that idea came from. Looking at the trees outside of my window.
Yeah, so you just take everything around you. Do you enjoy movies?
To be honest, I watch dumb movies like, comedy movies like Step Brothers and all that. But there's a couple of times where I'll watch a movie that has a different meaning to me, where it's a little bit more sentimental. And yeah, for sure, different movies do cause that emotion that makes you want to write about that specific thing.
Books as well too. I believe you have a song after a book called "Flowers for Algernon" or Algernon.
Yeah, correct. That was a Haas song. Yeah, Flowers for Algernon.
Tell us about how that inspired you.
I'm not hiding anything at all. I'm just
I forgot what the book was called, but it's a short story and a compilation, and it's just about being a lab rat and just feeling trapped, and that's where I came up with that idea.
Dang, man, that's great to hear. Do you usually write things about books or anything? Are you a frequent reader?
More lately, I haven't been reading as many books, but I do follow this guy on Reddit. He goes by the username of Flard, and he writes in the No Sleep subreddit. If you're familiar with it, he writes a lot of short stories, and they're horror short stories. And I don't know, his writing makes me think a lot, and it makes me want to write my own short stories. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but it'd be fun to experiment and write something other than music.
Is that like where you want to go, or what is it that you want to do with this songwriting, or do you even want to make it into something, or is it just something you'd rather keep as a hobby?
Right now, honestly, I'm focused on my work. I feel like my work is very demanding well, not emotionally. It's definitely mentally trying. I'm really focused on that right now, but music's always been a part of me, and I believe it's always going to be a part of me. But at this exact moment, I don't know if I want to be a musician for, full time, because, I have bills to pay, and I don't know. I would like to. I've definitely have imagined being a musician, and getting my message across, but I still don't know.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a demanding thing. I too wanted to be a rock star and a musician and stuff. And although I do enjoy music, I see that it is something you don't just stumble into. You have to put a lot of work into doing that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything that you want to start getting into? Like not necessarily a hobby, but it could be a hobby. But is there something you want to start doing more? Something you want to learn?
Yeah, I read a lot of manga too. That's it's like comic books, but Japanese authors, and I find myself sketching a lot of that. The way they draw those and that they paint them with markers, I think that's really cool. So that's something that I would like to get into, just as a maybe as a hobby.
Nice. What's your favorite mangas?
Oh man, all time, I guess I would say One Piece. And for right now, I'm really into My Hero Academia. That one's really cool.
I am not familiar with any of these. What's in them?
So One Piece, it's about a young boy who is a pirate, and he wants to become the Pirate King. And he goes on this great journey. He's on his way to become the Pirate King by taking on a lot of obstacles. And I mean, it sounds kind of goofy, but I actually think that's a big influence of mine. Like the theme of going on a journey and learning new things. I think that applies to my life too. You learn by just doing new things and taking on challenges.
Absolutely, man. That's the name of the game. Is there any new mangas you're trying to get into?
I have a list, but I haven't been reading them as much right now because I feel like I have to commit to them, and I don't have the time right now because well, I do have the time right now, but I would rather use that time to play The Legend of Zelda.
Which
I know.
which Legend of Zelda is it?
Breath of the Wild. It's the new Nintendo Switch game, or it's not so new anymore, but it's new to me.
Nice, man. You doing a good job on that one?
Yeah, it's a lot of hours invested in that, and I mean it's all fun, but I do like to geek out a little bit, as you can tell.
No, dude, that's some good stuff. That's some good stuff. You did mention your girlfriend. Is she a musician as well? Do you guys jam out?
Not really. We used to, but she supports me, and she's done some songs too. We've uh, we've tried getting into a band before, but it just hasn't happened yet. And hopefully in the future we do make something. I That's still one of my goals, to record a song with her, and I just think that would be really cool.
You said to record a song. So are you also getting into recording as well?
Yeah, yeah. I like to mess around. I have a microphone here, and I have some instruments, and I have a recording program, and I do like to mess around and to see what I can create.
What has been coming from that?
A lot of unfinished projects, but I feel like those unfinished projects have just mainly been a lot of practice for me, and a lot of getting to know the whole process of recording, EQing and mastering a song.
Yeah, is there a challenge you're facing right now as far as recording goes?
I tend to get a lot of writer's block nowadays. I feel like in my earlier days I would write music much more easily, I feel like there was much more to write about back then, that melancholic feeling.
Uh-huh.
But now I don't feel like that very often. So I guess I don't write as much. So that's why I get writer's block. It probably makes everyone think that I like to write sad songs. I mean, I like to write all kinds of songs too. It's just that's the one that I'm more comfortable with writing, that particular style, or it comes naturally.
Yeah, is there any piece of work that you've done that kind of left like a special mark? I'm sure they all, have a special place in your heart, but is there something that comes to mind that you worked on that kind of left a big impression on you?
The Haas split with our friend Alexi, that one was like something special to me. It still is. Just there's some recordings that I don't have, unfortunately, but they're somewhere from the earlier days that were supposed to be Haas songs, but they just never released.
Well, what made those projects stand out a little bit more than your other ones?
I don't know, maybe because I was a little bit more involved in the whole writing process. I think so, because a lot of those lyrics or a lot of those riffs just came from my own head. And the other one, like in the other projects, I did work a lot towards them too. I guess my ideal way of writing, my ideal genre, that's what Haas was for me. I definitely did have a lot of fun with my other projects though. It was just this one was a little bit more. It was different. A lot of my mind went into those.
That's
Yeah,
fair,
for
man.
sure.
That's fair and just. Well, I'm about to wrap things up here, man, and I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us and to just talk to me and to talk to everyone here. There's a lot of points of life, and I find it interesting. Like, I know these people are my friends, but I think it's something really cool when other people who don't know my friends for as long as I've known them or as well as I know them, to hear that there's people out here doing stuff that is extraordinary. And I think the music you write, dude, is pretty extraordinary. A lot of the stuff you've made would not be in existence unless you were there, obviously. And that's a pretty big deal, dude.
Thanks, man. That's a really, really great comment from you. I appreciate that.
All right, Danny. Well, I appreciate you talking with us, man. I'm gonna let you go. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and thank you, listeners, for hanging out with us. This is The Social Distance. I'm Israel, and thank you for listening.
This isn't about you.
Thank you.
This is about you.
Don't wait too long. You're going nowhere fast and nowhere's nowhere at all. After all, the devil's heart and I love everything. Don't wait too long. You're going nowhere fast and nowhere's nowhere at all. After all, I have the devil's heart and I love everything.
Hey, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? So, that last song was the infamous Diablocorazon that I was talking about in the middle of this podcast. I just love hearing Danny's voice on that. I think it's haunting. I think the lyrics are super cool. And even the contrast between what we hear on that studio version compared to the way they would do it live, the way Fences Thieves, by the way, that song is a song by the band Fences slash Thieves. And the way they would perform it live was completely different from the way it came out in the recorded version. And both versions were super cool. When they did it live, they all just kind of shouted the lyrics. It was a pretty fun time. It was a very fun time and a very fun track. I'm grateful for you guys tuning in. I hope this episode was fun for you, or at the very least, the best damn distraction that you've had all week, excuse my language. I'm also glad that I was able to share some jams with you. I love showing off all this local music that I have had the infinite pleasure to hear and even be a part of. All of these recordings are put together by regular people just like you and I. Students, younger brothers, cooks, Amazon delivery drivers. It does not matter what you do, what matters is that you took the time to create. I try to fill this podcast with as much DIY music as I possibly can, and I will continue doing so. So please stick around for the future episodes and possibly new favorite tracks. Okay, one last thank you for being here. One last thank you to Danny for being here, and I hope you guys enjoy this weekend. Do something great like read a book, or write a song, or maybe even kick some butt on Legend of Zelda. Whatever it is that you do, please do it safe. Don't forget to listen to all the other awesome content from Griffin Radio, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and follow us on all that good social media stuff. In case you forgot, I am Izz, and this was The Social Distance. Alrighty, later, dude. This Morse code memoir is not gonna write itself. Thank you for listening to Griffin Radio. We know these are weird times, but don't worry, we got you covered with tons of news and content delivered to you safely from all of us here at Griffin Radio. And just a reminder to stay home as much as you can, and to avoid touching your face and unnecessary surfaces, and to wash your hands often with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds. Simple as that. Hey, we'll get through this. Thank you for listening to Griffin Radio.